Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. We've got some Lindsay content. I've been meaning to make this video for like a week, but I've just been traveling and not at the home studio. Lindsay discusses her pending divorce from Brian Abasolo on the Natasha Parker's podcast. We're going to get into it right now. It's actually a fantastic podcast, fantastic set. Everything about it's great. Audio, video, conversation. It's called Hidden Gems by Natasha Parker. She's only got 400 subscribers on YouTube, but if she keeps on putting out content like this, she will for sure have a powerful podcast on her hands. Let's have a listen to several different clips as Rachel dives in for the first time and really talks about the relationship that was, and failures and the perceived failure and all that. Have a listen.
So I definitely, and like that's kind of how I am now in 2024. I came off The Bachelorette. I had a successful relationship. Everybody loved that it was successful. And now it's not, turns out it's not. And it doesn't mean that it wasn't at times.
Right.
It just didn't end that way. It didn't have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people will look at me in a different way because it didn't work. And that's something that's defined me as well.
That's one of the annoying parts with these bachelor relationships is that people will be so judgy as if they haven't been through any breakups. It's hard for these things to work out. There's a lot of factors that are at play here. And for the most part, her relationship with Brian was still like a top 2% of all, or maybe top 5% of all bachelor relationships as far as it made it to the altar. It made it a few years. So there is some success there.
I worked for Extra for 3 years. People still say to me like, oh, how's it going at Extra? It's like, I don't work there anymore. That defined me for a while. That was part of the reason we moved to California. So those kind of things, I'm like, and you get the question, you probably get this too. So what are you doing now?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
Surviving.
well, and you feel pressure to like come up with something.
Yeah.
And
I'm existing.
Yeah.
I'm being a bad bitch.
Yeah.
That's an issue we have in society. So what do you do? It's like everyone wants to know how they can jockey up, like what the other person's value is, their perceived value. And, some other cultures, when people ask what you do, you talk about arts, you talk about your leisurely activities. We're so connected to our jobs. And if you were the Bachelor, your job was to fall in love. So everybody knows your dirty laundry.
I'm waking up every day loving myself.
I should say that. I don't know if you watch Abbott Elementary, but I was at a comedy show for Netflix as a joke, and Janelle James, I think that's her name, the principal on Abbott Elementary, said people come up to her all the time, or she's doing a red carpet, and they're like, so what's next for you? And she's like, bitch, I'm on a successful TV show. I'm rich. This is enough. And I'm like, you're right. We do constantly say to people, what are you doing next? Like, you should be doing more. And maybe I'm just surviving each day.
Right.
And that is enough.
But that is enough.
That's a lot for me right now.
Yes.
Just to like get up, put on a smile, get through the day, do what I have to do. And like that, sometimes that's why I retreat. It's just so much for me to just do what I have to do. And then like, I just need to like come back and just be with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I do get the sentiment of what's next for you. And I understand why people ask the question. And I also want to know what's next for you and things like that. But I do think that on the other side of that, a very valid answer is what's next is me walking out of this studio. You know what I mean? Like
that's actually one of the best ways to overcome any sort of tragedy or breakup or job loss is to take it day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment. That anxiety, fear of the unknown, right? They call anxiety like false evidence appearing real, right? That fear of the unknown can lead people to ruminate and have all these negative thoughts. You're going through a breakup, take care of yourself today. Go get fresh air, walk, get some sunlight, go to the supermarket, listen to the Rush Hour podcast. Do those normal things and you'll be okay.
Just that simple.
That's how close I am to it. I'm not out there right now. I'm not that far out. And that's the answer and that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure.
And that's okay. I think a lot of people, especially women, look at our parents and the people in our lives and our relationships and our kids and our this and I should be doing this and I should be doing that and all these things. And it kind of does put us in this place of what we think we should do and why I think this podcast is all about getting unstuck, but it's one of the reasons that leads to being stuck because we are, I don't want to say unhappy, but it's like our happiness is wrapped up into what people think we should be doing versus what we really want to do and what we really want to manifest into our lives and what we really think is great for us. And, you said that the relationship didn't have a happy ending because you are currently going through a divorce. But you did. You gave that show, The Bachelorette, you gave it a happy ending. If I turn the show on right now and I watch it, we got a happy ending. We crying at the end. We got a proposal. That's
one way to polish it up. And by the way, I love that Natasha's got the book, The Four Agreements, behind her. Fantastic stuff. So again, we're not going to play every clip that they talk about here, or else there'd be nothing for you guys to go check out. And I want you to go listen to the full episode. But we do hear Rachel talking about the marriage as a business. And, business is a good way to look at marriage because in most cases, it's like you're building something together. You share equity in each other. If you succeed, you succeed together. If you fail together. Here's what she had to say.
Right. Because now I feel like all the time I'm hearing conversations about how marriage is a business and it's contractual. But when you go into it, you really don't think of it that way because of the love you have for that person. And it's hard to say, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to treat this like a business because that's how I functioned in all my relationships before, which I wasn't.
And I understand what you're saying, but a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going into business because you love something, or at least you should, right? You should be in business with something you love. That's the highest frequency of energy, right? Love. And in a marriage, you're pursuing each other, but you're pursuing like the dreams that you have and the dreams that your partner has. So I like it to see it in a business in that way. Like take my wife and myself, for example. We want to travel the world. We want all these big things. We want to perform and meet people and experience this rich life, and that business of acquiring an audience and building the podcast and building a fan base allows us to do that, not just because it's a vehicle for that, but it's because we get to meet these enriching people, these people that also feel the same energy type. So business in the sense that it's contractual, yes, but more so in the sense that it's two people with parallel goals heading in the same direction.
I wasn't successful. So I was trying to lead with love and not, going into it thinking logical. I mean, that sounds bad, but you know what I mean? Like, of course I was logical, but it wasn't the leading thought.
Love was the leader, not logic.
For sure. For sure. But I do want to say something about the happy ending. And this is like kind of, again, me talking to myself in my head. Because I said, although it didn't have a happy ending, but that's actually not true. So happy ending in terms of the show. Like happy ending in terms of when you get married, you plan on being together forever.
Yes.
But it is a happy ending. Yeah. Somebody said to me, I was telling them that I was getting divorced, and their immediate response was, congratulations. And I was like, excuse me? And they're like, no, congratulations. And they were explaining to me how there's a reason that you decided to make this decision. And it's tough, but you're making the best decision for yourself.
Yeah, work like hard to save it in any way possible. But if the communication is there and if it dies down, you can't save it. Now, she goes on to talk about how messy the breakup was. Not necessarily that the marriage was messy, but the fact that Brian filed it and there's been a little bit of a public talk, But hey, what are you supposed to do? I don't understand. It's one of those things. Brian's going up against a lawyer here. So he wanted spousal support. She makes more money. He moved his business and took a big financial hit for it. I don't know if that's me being apologetic towards him, but seems like the fair thing. And it seems like they're going to have some sort of global settlement, which might mean she just pays him X amount of money that she made. Like, put it this way. If during the time they were married, she made $1 million and he made $100,000, there's a $900,000 difference. You might argue she owes him $450,000. Now, it's obviously way more complicated than that with assets and everything else, but that's how it works. That's how it would work if the genders were reversed. I mean, if you had any other stipulations agreed upon beforehand, maybe that would be changed, but sounds fair to me. All right, last clip. Let's play here.
I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. It's just a really tricky.
It's tricky.
You just, again, the person you marry is not the same person that you divorce.
Oh,
It's just not. And I'm talking about myself too.
Ooh.
I'm not the same that I was when I got married. You're just not. And that's why a prenup is necessary, because you're dealing with dissolving a marriage and you're two different people. And like, my mistake is expecting that the people will handle it in the same way. They just don't. You just don't.
But two different. Okay, wait. We have to.
You're two different people.
We got to unpack this, because it's like, meaning you're two different people to each other, or you have just grown into a different person, is what you're saying.
Both. I mean, again, I've been blessed to have a lot of success post marriage.
Yes.
And so I've changed in that way, like the way I handle business, certain things that I want to do, how I spend my time.
Yes.
And, like I'm older too. So you just naturally change as well. But you change to each other too, because there's a reason that you're divorcing.
Yeah.
There's a reason that, it's ending. And especially if it's mutual, like you both see it.
And the reason why their relationship seems to have ended just from a outsider standpoint is possibly not being able to agree upon where to take the family next from the standpoint of kids and things like that. Yeah, you're always going to grow. You're either going to grow in the same direction, you're either going to grow apart, or one's going to grow and the other one isn't. Stagnant water, like in ponds, is always very dangerous. You need running water. Doesn't mean you need fast running water, but you need the relationship to be moving. You need progress, growth. It doesn't mean moving in a physical sense. It means like, what are you doing to become a better version of yourself? So much bitterness comes in relationships where we just become the guy who comes home from work, sits down on the couch, calls it a day, tomorrow does the same thing. And look, we're all guilty of that. We have those seasons of laziness, but what are we doing to challenge ourselves, our partner, and how are we becoming the best version of ourselves? Those are the questions I think are worth asking pretty much every single day. And when you are working towards those goals with your partner and keeping that communication up, when one person might be getting bitter, or some weeks you need to help the other person out. I had to do something very selfish and go to Phoenix and Vegas over the weekend for 4 days. I felt terribly guilty. I left my wife here with our baby, but she knew how important it was, and there'll be something important to her, and I'll pick up the slack, and it goes both ways. So it's a give and a take. When you're on the same page, it works, and when you're not, it doesn't. And hopefully what they learned is a little bit about themselves, and maybe they'll find a partner that better lines up with the trajectory of their rocket ships. All right, I'll be on Patreon today, I believe around noon Central Time. Around then, you can go check it out, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Don't forget, if you haven't checked out the podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal, brand new branding. We're going to have all of your entertainment and pop culture news in one place, twice a day for your rush hour ride to and fro work. We'll talk to you then. Bye, everybody.